Hey everybody, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga, available on Amazon.com. And we have got some controversial news coming out of the Dune front. Now, for those of you who don't know, basically the classic science fiction book Dune by Frank Herbert is being remade into a movie. You might recognize the original Dune film from its 1980s version, directed by David Lynch. And filmmaker extraordinaire Denis Villeneuve, who is responsible for the Blade Runner 2049 movie and this other great science fiction movie, Arrival. He's a very, very wonderful filmmaker. He's very up and coming. He's kind of, I'd argue, the new generation of great filmmakers who's kind of coming up in Hollywood right now. And he's the one who's shepherding this Dune remake. And it's going to be a two-part movie that covers the events of the first book. And, they're placing a lot of emphasis on its political machinations, so its Game of Thrones aspects, in addition to all of its philosophical and science fiction aspects. And one of the great things about Denis Villeneuve is that he's a very thoughtful filmmaker. Like, he's really good at weaving in themes and kind of like deeper philosophical meanings into his movies. And so I think he's a perfect choice to be shepherding the Dune film. However, those rapscallions at Bounding Into Comics have a shocking revelation that has been kind of alarming to certain fans of Dune and also to the anti-SJW crowd out there on the interwebs. Now, keep in mind before I get into this article that this is a rumor. They don't have anything in this article that substantiates this. And in addition to that, a lot of these quote-unquote news websites out there tend to like to, create these rumor clickbaits in order to get people to visit their sites to get that ad revenue and stuff like that. So take this with a heavy grain of salt. We're going to kind of analyze it and break it down once we kind of go through the rumor here. But Bounding Into Comics has this article that says, exclusive, Denis Villeneuve's Dune film to gender swap Liet Kynes. So the article goes on to say, Denis Villeneuve's upcoming Dune film will gender swap Liet Kynes. According to my trusted source, Liet Kynes, the appointed judge of the change during the transition of the planet Arrakis between House Harkonnen and House Atreides, will be a female instead of the traditional male from Frank Herbert's historic Dune novel. In Frank Herbert's Dune, Liet Kynes, the son of Pardot Kynes and his Fremen wife Farola, is the appointed judge of the change during the transition of power over the planet Arrakis between House Harkonnen and House Atreides. Not only is Kynes the judge of change, he is an imperial ecologist who is working to terraform Arrakis from a desert planet into a lush one overflowing with water and green plant life. Kynes is also the secret leader of the Fremen, an indigenous people of Arrakis, and becomes a strong ally to House Atreides in their struggle against House Harkonnen. My source tells me Kynes is described as a tall, lean woman in her 40s who exudes pride and intelligence. She has sandy hair, a suntanned face, and the shocking blue eyes of spice saturation. In Herbert's Dune, Kynes is described by Duke Leto Atreides as tall, thin, long sandy hair, a sparse beard, the eyes were that fathomless blue within blue under thick brows. He was further described in Chapter 2. His long hair and beard were musk. The blue eyes without whites were a darkness under heavy brows. Herbert added wisps of sandy hair protruded from it, matched by sparse beard and thick brows. Beneath the blue within blue eyes remains a dark stain spread down to the cheeks. Blah, blah, blah. While Kynes will be gender swapped, her role in the upcoming film appears to be the same. She will be an imperial ecologist and act as the judge of change as control of the planet Arrakis is handed over to House Atreides. Not only that, but Kynes will be the mother of Zendaya's Chani. Readers of the book know that Chani is the lover and eventual concubine of Paul Atreides. She also bears his children. As to who could be playing Liet Kynes, my source speculates that it will be actress Sharon Duncan-Brewster. She is credited on IMDb as having a role in Dune, but they don't detail which specific role she is playing. Duncan-Brewster previously portrayed Senator Pamlo in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and plays Fran Baxter in Years and Years. She has also played Maggie Kane in Doctor Who. So this is basically the rumor here. As you can see in this picture, Max von Sydow played this role in David Lynch's version of Dune, and this is the actress that they are referring to. Her name is Sharon Duncan-Brewster. And one of the weird things here is that this paragraph right here from the article, where this article's writer, John F. Trent, says, "My source tells me Kynes is described as a tall, lean woman in her 40s. She has sandy hair, a suntan face." Don't see any of that right here, but basically this speculation is coming from the Dune IMDb page. If we go to it over here, so you see the cast here, and Sharon Duncan-Brewster is down here, and she does not have a character associated with her. And so because she is the only female actress without a character associated with her on IMDb, knowing that the character is being gender swapped, it is basically a speculation that she is the one who is playing this role. Now, the issue here is that if you're a fan of the Dune series, you know that Liet Kynes, he is one of the secret leaders of the Fremen, which is this group of nomadic people to the planet Arrakis. He's an outsider who was sent by the Emperor there to kind of oversee the production of spice. He's not a central character, but he plays an important role. And the reason that it's important that he's a man is because, at least in the books, the Fremen are a patriarchal society. They are led by men. The interesting thing about the Frank Herbert Dune novels is that women do play a very interesting role, like with the Bene Gesserit sisterhood and the fish speakers and stuff like that. So women aren't kind of like relegated to second-class citizens necessarily in the Dune universe. They're definitely on par with the men, but in the Fremen culture, men are the leaders. So to have him gender swapped to a woman character goes a little bit against canon. Now, however, I will say that if this report is true, if they did gender swap Liet Kynes, there's probably a reason for it. And if you're going to do it, at least you're doing it with a character who's not central to the story. Like I always say that if you plan to kind of swap a character's gender or race or whatever, have it be a supporting character as opposed to a main character. Because people have certain expectations of their main characters. So this isn't like Duke Leto Atreides being, race swapped or gender swapped or whatever. This is just a side character. And though he has an important role to play in the overall, story of Dune, swapping his race and gender is not that big of a deal. So he could be a woman in Denis Villeneuve's reimagining of Dune, and it not be an issue at all, especially considering the fact that we know that the Dune movie is going to kind of spin off a Bene Gesserit, however you pronounce it, TV show for HBO Max. And, this kind of more emphasis on the matriarchal aspects of the Dune universe kind of goes hand in hand with having more female characters of influence and power kind of put into the narrative. Now, the reason I believe they're race swapping this character is because in the books, Liet Kynes is the father of Chani, who is a very central character to the Dune mythos, because not only does she become Paul Atreides' lover and concubine, but she's the mother of his children, and his children go on to be very important characters, particularly his son in future books. So one of the reasons that I believe this actress in particular is considered to be Liet Kynes is that Chani has been cast as, I should say the character of Chani is being played by Zendaya. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Zendaya, whatever. But Zendaya, if we go to her IMDb page, you might recognize her from HBO's Euphoria, and she's also playing MJ in the Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. She is African American, you know. In the Dune novels, Liet Kynes has an affair, or takes on a wife who is a Fremen wife. And I believe in Villeneuve's Dune reboot, the Fremen are being played mostly by actors of Hispanic origin. I could be wrong on that, but I do know Javier Bardem plays Stilgar, so my guess is that other Fremen are going to be Hispanic in nature. So a female black Liet Kynes, has a child with a Fremen husband, and the result is this mixed-raced Zendaya Chani. And I believe, this was this kind of gender and race swap was meant to justify the fact that Zendaya looks different from all the other Fremen in the movie. So I believe that's the story reason behind this. A lot of people are going to be jumping on this, saying that it is a SJW issue. It's forced inclusion, forced inclusivity, stuff like that. And it very well might be. That might be the motivation behind it. But I actually think it has to do with the fact that Zendaya was cast as this central character, and they needed a way to justify why she looks different from the other Fremen. So, I mean, who knows? I don't think there's anything too upset, or there's anything to get too upset about with this news. Like I said, if you got to gender or race swap a character, it's better to do it with secondary characters as opposed to main characters, because people have a lot of attachment to the main characters. They want to see them remain true to the source material. But someone like this, I don't feel like it's a big deal. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is just more indication of Hollywood going woke SJW culture? Or do you think this was a legit thing to do in order to justify the casting of Zendaya? And do you think that this rumor is true? Because let's face it, they don't name their quote-unquote trusted source in this article, so it could very well just be someone, spreading false rumors. Who's to say? I don't know if Bounding Into Comics has a very good track record on this type of thing, but it's worth looking into, and it's worth keeping an eye on, because there are a lot of clickbaity stuff going on out there on the internet right now, where outrage culture gets a lot of clicks, and so you have to be careful about what you believe, trust but verify. So, but I would say that it's probably a good bet that this is accurate, just based off of what I'm seeing on IMDb. But that's not to say that it's absolutely 100% true. So take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, guys, be sure to leave a comment on this video. Let me know what you think. And as well, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you later.